Good morning, judges. We're so excited to share with you today our text to 3D architecture AI model, Cordoba. To better understand the architecture industry, we got on the phone and talked to various professionals involved in the custom home design sector. From their responses, we noted several problems architects deal with whenever they're designing homes for their clients. Nowadays, architects 3D model every single home they design and extract the building plans from those models. Architecture firms are spending at minimum $900 and 30 hours on these necessary 3D models, but 40% of that time is spent doing revisions and working with clients. Clients building custom homes often have difficulty describing and verbalizing the home concept they have in their head, meaning architects spend nearly as much time redoing work and on the phone with clients as they spend designing the initial building model. And custom homes require custom building codes, meaning architects have to meticulously keep track of each account's building codes and ordinance requirements, which is a nightmare for architects. Introducing Cordoba.
Cordoba is a text to 3D object and landscape AI that can develop code compliant building models so that architects can communicate better with their clients by understanding the actual object of the dream home they are trying to produce. In the current system, it's very cyclical. Architects work with clients to generate new drafts, and then over and over, the cycle continues for weeks and sometimes months to generate a building. After this process is complete, the architects then create a new cycle of checking the building codes, drawing a house, checking the building codes, and repeating the cycle over and over until a building is designed correctly. This whole process can sometimes takes weeks or months, sometimes even years, and it's very inefficient.
With Cordoba, everything is streamlined and revisions and redoings are cast out. Architects purchase the Cordoba software and give free access to it to their clients so the client can bring their dream home to life using AI. You can type in 3-story split level with pool into the model and see a fully generated 3D model of your dream home appear on your screen. Then, customize further with prompts like make the balcony window a little bit bigger and turn the concept you have in your head into a workable 3D building model an architect can edit and prepare directly in their native modeling software. Cordoba is also trained on local codes and ordinances, meaning buildings are safer and architects aren't required to meticulously study local ordinances. They just need to verify them all. Cordoba knows how tall to generate a balcony railing. Instead of reading through long, boring building codes, architects simply need to verify the working model is in line with the specific requirement listed. This is estimated to save architects $1,800 a month and boost efficiency by 20%. Firms will need the software because it allows architects to spend less time doing remedial work, which lowers overall project costs for the firm, but increases architect wages because they can focus on higher skilled labor. Clients will love it because instead of an architect giving them 2D building drawings, they'll see a 3D model in front of their very eyes, boosting client engagement and experience. Because Cordoba is trained on building codes, architects can reduce their time doing legal revision by 40% and cast off much of this tedious practice.
Here's the current version of our UI that we have in alpha version. As you can see on the left, we have a chat interface where you can enter text prompts and then a 3D viewing area. So you can see the output of the current model. Here's some higher resolution model outputs that the AI can currently do with text prompts. So given a text prompt of a castle, you will get a castle, or Pacific Northwest modern home with wraparound porch, you will get a Pacific Northwest modern home with a wraparound porch. We are also excited to introduce our terrain model generation so that we can implement the exact area and terrain as well as fauna and flora within the area you are generating your model. So you can get a better visual representation of what your dream home will look like. We have seen amazing traction in the last month. We have had over 27 customer interviews with architects, engineers, civil engineers, and game developers. We have been accepted into Microsoft Founders Hub, which has given us access to compute credits on AWS and Azure. We have made it into the next rounds and the semifinals in the Boise State pitch competition, the semifinal rounds of the University of Idaho pitch competition, and the investment round of the University of Washington's pitch competition. We have a pending deal with Interact, which is a 3D modeling collaboration software company out of Ohio. And recently, as of last weekend, our model placed first in the upper division of Eastern Washington University's 2024 CodeFest Hackathon after we implemented it into a Minecraft mod for text to 3D model generation, beating out computer science and machine learning graduate students. We also have two working models right now, a text to 3D model and a text to terrain generation model. When we launch our website, we will have over a dozen beta users across two different architecture firms, Architects West in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and Medici Architects in Bellevue, Washington. My name is Morgan Dixon. I have 7 years of startup experience, and I've raised over $310,000 for the startups I've worked for, as well as 4 years of machine learning engineering experience.
My name is Chris Larson. I'm the COO of Cordoba. I'm the founder of Totally Rad Pretzels, and I've won over $33,000 in non-dilutive funding for that venture. You might recognize me as I was a 2023 BPC finalist and a Jones Milestone Accelerator graduate. We have an amazing team of advisors in the spaces of AI and machine learning, architecture, and construction. Cordoba will operate under a software as a service model, selling for $750 a month for a total enterprise package, and for boutique firms and freelance designers, $150 a month for a personal user account. This is charged to the architecture firm who will give their clients access to the software for free. Like how DocuSign makes its money from companies who will use it as a free tool to communicate with their clients, Cordoba is a tool that architecture companies will pay for because it helps them communicate with their clients. The first sales will all be founder-led. We're going to contact the architecture firms that have shown interest in our product and that we've connected with through our customer interviews. Then we'll launch a cold and warm phone and email campaign in conjunction with tabling sales at industry events, which will estimate $250 per table. We'll offer a 1-year 10% discount to any firm that refers a new subscriber to Cordoba. We plan to begin beta testing in May, have our first paying user in August, and scale to 35 enterprise users by the end of 2024 and begin raising an initial round of funding. The building information model market is currently at $7.9 billion and is set to grow to $15 billion over the next 5 years at a 13% CAGR. The largest BIM software that Cordoba integrates with has nearly 2/3 of its user base generate $10 million per year in revenue. Our target client is an architecture firm that has already established BIM into their workflow, is generating $10 million in revenue annually, and has at least 50 employees while working in the custom home sector.
Cordoba has some very interesting characteristics that make it far superior to its competitors for a few reasons. It does large-scale text to 3D modeling. It is specifically trained on code-compliant 3D housing models supplied directly from architects. The model output directly integrates with software tools like that architects are already using, like Revit, Unreal Engine, Rhino, and it has terrain integration. Our competitors vary widely from venture-backed AI research companies to plug-and-play architecture modeling software. The technical aspects of Cordoba are what really give us a competitive edge. Big AI will not catch up for a long time because we have a totally unique AI architecture that is not based on any previous LLMs or diffusion type models, which are compute intensive and require an absurd amount of training data. I designed this model architecture to be totally custom to generate large-scale text to 3D models from scratch. Not only that, but our model is extraordinarily lightweight and fast. It can generate a 3D output in 3.5 seconds with 0 GPU acceleration and visualize in 4.5 seconds. These are literally state-of-the-art results because of how special our AI architecture is. And that's what won us the first place at the upper division win for the Eastern Washington Hackathon. Even the best in the business, like Shape from OpenAI, which was last updated in December of 2023, only generates 3D spinning GIFs of cartoonish small objects, which are designed and created on a bunch of different images. Cordoba beats them all.
5 minutes remaining.
Thank you. The largest expense is our $600 customer acquisition cost, as well as the $30 monthly computation and upkeep expense per account. The model is currently being hosted on an Amazon Web Server Elastic Container Registry for serverless hosting. This means we only have costs for computation when an API call is made, rather than costs of constantly running the program, driving our expenses down. The current cost per call is 1.5 cents, and we estimate 2,000 3D generations per enterprise per month. Given the market opportunity, we estimate reaching $8 million in revenue in year 5 with a 13% net margin.
Our goal is to raise $250,000 in pre-seed funding. $160,000 of this will go to further product development. We have data collection costs, computation and training costs, legal and admin fees for patenting our unique architecture and methods. And this will help us complete our first generation product and then continue on to our second round of funding for scaling and marketing. We'll be raising these funds with a convertible note with a 20% discount rate and an 8% interest rate. If you would like to support Cordoba, vote for us for Best Tech Venture. Thank you.
Thank you. We welcome any questions and feedback you have at this time.
Hey, I have a question. So it's really cool. I think this is an exciting concept. How many homes how many homes do you need for data training to get an adequate database to build your AI to work off of? I just think of how unique residential homes in particular are, right?
So I'll try not to explain too much if you don't know the technical aspects, but the model architecture is based on a modular neural network. So our training set can be literally one, and we can expand it from there. So right now we have about 50 models that have been supplied from my dad's architecture firm, which we have been using for training data, and that creates outstanding results. It's just the unique architecture, the way that we do it. And all that was trained on my MacBook, which I am talking to you now, that has no GPU. It's just a i5 core. So it's extraordinarily amazing, I think, from the technical aspect. And it took a long while to generate that.
Going off of that, we'll be offering discounts to our first subscribers if they let us use some of their models to train the data. That way we can create a better product while we generate our first users.
Hey, one other quick question on the revenue model. So it looks like it's $750 a month. In addition, then it sounds like they'll pay $30 a month per user. Is that correct? A user account?
No, so it's $750 a month for an enterprise package. So a whole company will pay that. We pay $30 a month in computation costs to upkeep that account. That's one of our expenses.
Okay, got it. Sorry.
I have a couple of questions about your funding. I haven't noticed on your financials. These are, the one round is convertible notes, but I didn't see any debt on your balance sheet or any interest expense.
Yes, we're currently working through that. That was planned as if we were to develop that through equity funding. We've since then changed to a convertible note structure because we think that would be better long term for both our investors and for our product development.
Yeah, good choice. That's that. I thought maybe that's what it was. The other is, how did you decide not to do a draw versus salaries?
Yeah, so we decided to do a draw because we want to stake it more on the business. We want to make sure that we're not eating unless the business is eating, and by making it more equity focused rather than a set salary per month or per year, we will only get paid if the business is working, which will help fuel our fire to grow Cordoba into what we want it to be.
One of the difficult things with that is that you don't allocate your draws back to the expenses and where they want. So for investors to look at what are your product development, what are your sales expenses, you probably would have to have a separate model or something for that. And you see what I'm saying? You plunk it all in one spot instead of distributing it, and your development costs and your sales expenses are key to running this kind of business.
Great, that's wonderful feedback. We'll keep that in mind as we continue to develop our financials and continue to speak with investors.
I like the moral to your story, though, being equity driven. Anyone else?
I have a question on the UX design side of it, knowing that typical end user, somebody designing a home, has little to no experience in this area. Do you have an expert on your team that's working to help you think about how that user can interact with your platform?
Once we get to that point, that will be me. I have experience designing websites previously to coming to school, so I will be integrating that and working with the ways that we do that. But the great thing about using like a text to 3D model is that it is semantic meanings, and that's how we get the output that we want. So as long as you can kind of describe what you are looking for the model and interact with the chat interface, that's all you will need to do to generate the output, which is why generative AI is so useful rather than being like, I want a wall here and a wall there, and how does that actually interact? It's like, describe what you actually want and the goal of that room, and that's what you will get.
Interesting. Do you have any barriers that you can put around yourselves from a legal standpoint? So if you don't get the code in there right, and that, is it the responsibility of the architecture firm versus you, or the railing, you know, for some reason? And they do all the structural weight test and that kind of stuff, but will you have disclaimers?
Yeah, we'll have plenty of disclaimers in place to make sure that they know that this is AI generated. This isn't an editable building model, right? For a home to be built, it has to pass through an architecture inspection, meaning that this is a tool that helps architects, but in no ways is this legally allowed to be directly built. That's why we lease this to architecture firms, so they can use it as a tool and then run their own inspections. So the liability of anything that would happen in one of these homes goes to those architecture firms.
You had something called a personal model. It was $180 a month. Is that still only to an architectural firm, not to, like, I can't use it?
No, we're not planning to go directly B2C. That $150 a month account is for architect freelancers that have smaller businesses that don't need to run multiple accounts because they only have one or two architects working in that business.
Thanks. It is wonderful, having designed probably 10 homes myself. This is, and we're for a large building company. This is just a phenomenal concept. I love it.
Oh, fantastic.
Thank you.
I'd like to be a UI tester.
We'll take your contact and we'll let you know when that is.
Can you talk
Yeah,
about
just
how you're protecting your idea?
So could you repeat that question?
Can you talk about how you're protecting your idea? What's stopping somebody from using the same type of technology?
Yeah, so the first big protection is Morgan has built his own wonderful AI architecture that's custom. It's not like any MLM that we've seen so far. But also we talked with a patent attorney this past week to make sure everything was protectable. And there's a lot of promise there that can protect that code in case anything were to happen to it or anything got leaked.
What do you think is your biggest challenge?
At least from the technical aspect, I think right now is going to be getting over our computation costs and having a higher quality output so that we can make something that's not so blocky based as you saw that. That's just based on the resolution and compute power that we currently have on my computer. So that's what we're here for, to try and scale that and make it a higher quality resolution, and then introduce coloring as well as material channels, so that literally you could represent each block as a nail and count every single nail. You could have an entire house costed out based on the materials that were used. And that's all we have to do. We just have to increase our resolution and our compute power to get to that point.
And that'll be cloud-based, is that correct?
Probably locally trained and then hosted on a cloud like AWS or Azure through a container system, so that we can just call it when we need and don't have to pay for those GPUs, which can get extraordinarily expensive.
What you just said about the cost brings up another question for me on the end user. Is there like a tally going that shows them, okay, I wanted to expand this window to this size and now it's increased the cost of my house by X amount, so they don't have sticker shock as they're making these changes?
Once we can integrate that feature, yes, that it will just update and accordingly as we add in more voxels, which are what represent each item and the structure itself. So that will be easy to compute once we get there.
So you say you can value engineer along the way?
Was that value and engineer?
So you can allow people to have value engineering as they do this. It sounds like.
Correct. Yep.
And where do you get
Yeah.
where do you get your cost factors, like for a window?
There are currently other plugins for these BIM building information modeling programs that can turn a BIM model into that can value it and understand the materials and all the costs involved. We're hoping to take that same plugin or the same software involved with there and implement it into the Cordoba software directly. So instead of having to go through our software, then to BIM, then to value, it can go directly to Cordoba and value it while the user is working through Cordoba.
What's the how did you pick the name of your company? That was my question.
We did a bit of A and B testing, split testing with a couple names. We liked Cordoba because it sounds cool, but also it's Spanish architecture. We thought that'd be a cool little tie-in, and we thought it would be fun to hear an architect saying, "Oh yeah, just plug it into Cordoba and let it run." So
That's all the time we have for questions.
awesome. Thank you so much, judges. We appreciate your feedback and questions, and we hope to see you in the finals.
Good job, guys.
Good
Yeah,
job.
excellent job.
Thank
Good
you.
product.